Hey, what's going on, guys? We're here with another Overprime video. How is everyone doing? So, I'm a little sick. Sorry, I have not been live or anything. I've just been trying to feel better. Which is why the guide is so late. But since I'm almost mastery yet, I think I'm 400 off. I have been unable to finish the master grind. Sadly, I would have been done by like day 3. But like I said, I've been a little under the weather. So we're close. We're close. But yeah, I played Yin for like 30-ish hours. So I have a lot of time on her, but I mean, I grinded the hell out of her. I love her. She's really fun. So we're making a guide for everyone to kind of know what she's about, know what she does, and what she basically brings to the table. I guess a little disclaimer, she's not really any different from any other ADC outside of her ult. She's pretty similar. She does have really fast clear, but doesn't really mean much in the grand scheme of things. I mean, you could just play Sparrow if you really want to emulate that, because they both have fairly good clear. Yeah, they are. She's not much. She's an ADC. Like if you play other ADCs, she's not really gonna. The best thing, I think, the most interesting thing about her is her mobility, not her ult, her mobility. It's really fun to just kind of zip around, and we'll go over this ability later. But I really do enjoy that aspect of just like moving out of like mage abilities or like just getting out of situations. Even though like it's probably similar to Twin Blast Dash, but since it's vertical, there is more counterplay in the jungle, which is really nice. Also, it feels really safe when I get caught in a corner because I can get up a terrain. The ability to like vertically transverse the terrain is just, it's so good. It's so amazing. But you don't get to like, that benefit in lane or anything. So like you're still kind of shit out of luck if you get caught out in lane by like a jungler. You're still gonna die. But she's not uncatchable. But I do love her. She's like, that's probably the most fun thing to do with her outside of just attack. So yeah, let's go over her kit. And if you guys do like the video, please do sub. Like I said, I might be live after this goes live. I'm not actually sure. I still feel like shit. But I mean, I can stream, so we'll see. Yep, let's get right into the guide. So, I guess there's not much to talk about here outside of, I guess, what the kit offers, but you're not really going to use any of this later in the game, which is, again, I really want them to shift the power around, but I don't think it's like, I don't think it's a Yin thing. I think it's an ADC thing. Like, the problem with her kit is her kit doesn't matter because you need to go crit in this game, which is a big, I guess that's also a big thing because you need crit. If you're not going crit, you're trolling as any ADC. Like you could do non-crit builds, but it's just like there's no like you're statistically doing less damage than any other person who doesn't have. So, yeah, let's talk about her abilities and we'll talk about why you don't use them at the end of the game. The only thing it's just her ult, which probably needs a nerf. So let's get right into her main ability, her Wind Whip. So basically it extends her whip. It goes from this airy basic attack, which is doing about 117 right now, you can see, to a extension whip that travels across everyone in the ground and pierces. So it pierces everything. You also actually get a little bit tiny more range, a tiny little bit. So if I go right here, yeah, I'm hitting. I'm gonna hold it, and now I'm missing. So yeah. Like I said, you do get slightly more range. It's very short, but it is technically allows you to outtrade if you can position perfectly, but it's very tiny. I thought it was a little weird that it has that. Maybe they didn't test it, but yeah. She is slightly farther range than other ADCs, which is really interesting, but it only lasts 4 seconds. At the start of the game, you're not going to get this all the time either, so yep, that is the benefit of it. And yeah, like I said, that's kind of her bread and butter for her early game, kind of to help her boost her power by increasing her attack speed. Once you get level 9, this ability is on an 8-second cooldown, and you are just blasting fast. It's not as good as Sparrow's because Sparrow has like it's on a shorter cooldown, but it doesn't have movement speed, and the attack speed is lower, but it is still really good. So, really good ability. You're just not gonna use it as much late game, and you will, but like it depends on where you're standing. So this ability kind of loses a lot of value late game. Unless you're doing a specific build, which you realistically should just be capping attack speed anyways. Yeah, it's a good ability. Like I said, it does pierce, so that's nice. So if you're like next to somebody or you're in the middle of somebody, it will go through people. A lot of people have said this ability is OP. It isn't. The problem with this ability is that it's a straight line. It's not as wide as it shows. It's just down the middle. It's not actually on the sides. Outside of this broken wide hitbox, because the arms are a hitbox, it doesn't actually go where the box is on the side. Otherwise, it'd be hitting right here. It's just down the middle. So, yeah, so that's the biggest problem with it. It's just too It's too narrow, which is good. I like that. I'm just saying, people were saying that's the reason she's OP. It's not. It's her ult. FYI. Yeah, it doesn't. You're not gonna line people. I've played her for like what 30 hours. Like I said, I'm almost mastered with her, and rarely do I ever line people up or like use the pierce to my advantage outside in lane or through like a wave. It very rarely helps me because I can pierce outside of that small laning phase. If I clear the minions, but if I clear the minions, that means my stim is down, right, in the wave. So it's either I use the stem on the wave or I use the stem on the people that I'm trying to fight. It is nice to just kind of ignore minions and just start hitting whoever I am for 4 seconds. But early on, that's the only benefit. Later on, when you're out in the open and there's no minions in front of you, or you're in the jungle, you're not really like, if you get dove, you're just working so much on the tank, you're probably diving away from the tank, or you're diving a different direction. So this ability doesn't really get a lot of benefit late game with the Pierce. It's just kind of just in case. It's too inconsistent, let's say that. You're never going to be able to do it yourself. It's very inconsistent because all someone has to do is just move slightly to the right while they're fighting, while the Chimera is jumping on you. If they're standing over here behind him and they just decide to move a little bit, well then your Pierce loses its value. So it's not as good as you think it is, and people are saying nerf the Pierce. Like, no, the stim maybe you can raise the cooldown if you think she's OP because of it, but even that's going to not matter late game because you're not even going to need it that much. But yeah. So anyways, that's her first ability, and that's kind of the bread and butter for her main damage move, which isn't that high of damage, is a right click. So a right click is a little disc skill shot that you throw. It has a animation, so if you're like a longer animation, so if you're autoing, you throw it, it interrupts your auto. You can kind of come out of it pretty quickly. But it's not worth throwing if you're just autoing somebody. It literally is not worth throwing. Also, it doesn't pierce minions, so it stops on the first enemy hit. So this doesn't pierce. It does provide a 50% slow for 1 second, which is nothing. I don't even feel it when I've been hit by this ability. It sucks. It does have longer range than I think anything you could do outside of your ult. Try to get the ult range or the right click range. Yeah, so there we go. Okay. Yeah, like I said, it does have longer range than an auto attack, but the damage is really low. And like I said, yeah, it's pretty far actually, really far, much farther. Not worth throwing though, especially when you're in lane or even out in the open. It just doesn't do a lot of damage. It's just, and the 50% slow doesn't mean anything. But where it shines is where when you hit this the stem and then you press right click, you do a pierce across the ground. It doesn't go up in the air. It only goes across the ground. So if you try to look up and do it, it doesn't actually work that way. So you only do it traveling across the ground where the AoE is. And I guess I can show you that real quick. Just so you guys have like, oops, that was an accident. I guess there's no, okay, where's the bar? So yeah, that's the range. It actually is slightly lower than auto attack range. If I can show you here. I need more time. Thing to show up. So yeah, it is slightly lower than auto attack range. So don't use it unless you're closer to somebody. Now this ability, it's pretty good. I mean, it has decent scaling. It has a 80% scaling. It also has a 25% magical scaling, which you'll never use. Don't ever build her magical. Just do a lot of damage with magical. It's just not worth it. But early game, obviously you can see it's going to be worth casting even no matter what if you have no power. Now let me insta cast this. Always insta cast the ability, by the way. It's not worth not having an insta cast. Just insta cast it. But early game, it's going to be really good. But late game, since you're critting, it's not good. So if you don't have a crit build, let me just say it's worth casting this ability. If you probably worth casting if you don't have a crit build, but you should have one. Now there is a little bit weird tracking with it. It seems to come out as you're aiming. So like if I aim the ability, right, and I move, see how I'm moving kind of like at the end there. So it's like at the end of it, you have to hold your tracking to your target, otherwise you can easily miss. So hold wherever you're aiming, make sure never to look away if you're trying to like flick or anything until the ability actually landed. Because like I said, it's really easy to just screw up and move at the last second. You basically whip crack and then it comes out at the end of the ability, not at the start. So it's at the end. That's kind of how a lot of her abilities work. Just know that. Yeah, just use it when you're closer to someone. But it's not worth using late game. It really isn't. Don't cast this ability. It just interrupts your auto attack chain. It's good early because it's kind of like a reset if you have no attack speed, but it's really bad late. So again, this ability kind of becomes worthless at the end of the game. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. I kind of want them to redesign the the way it works, just so you actually have to cast this ability or it has more value. But since the range is really low, it's not like you outpoke anybody. It just feels kind of bad. It is nice that you get a 20% slow. It's rarely saved my life, but it's there. It exists. It's 2 seconds, 20% slow. It does way more damage than your other, this ability, right? Just way more damage. I cast it a lot still, even at the late part of the game, but I shouldn't. I just messed up my auto attack chain. Especially because when you stim, you only have 4 seconds. So you don't want to waste your increased attack speed early in the middle of the game by whipping. It just kind of is a waste. But it's the only time you should use never use an ability like this, like ever. Unless they're really just so far out of range that you can't reach them and they're 1 HP. But other than that, do not. It's not worth. Just literally save it for that right click. Okay. So that's her second ability. It is her main damage. It is gonna. Oh, also it's really good for clear. So when you're in front of the wave, just stim and then press right click. Be careful in the first 2 levels because if you're standing in front of the wave, the support will blast you. So I know everyone's like, her clear's insane, but like a good support and a good ADC will not let you clear the wave for free. So be careful when you're trying to just waste your whole kit. And also when your kit's down, you no longer have a kit to fight with. So you use your abilities in the wave, you don't have a kit anymore for the actual fight. So be careful, because a good player should start trading you if they see you use your abilities in the wave. But yeah, hopefully you don't have to experience that. But if you do, just remember, again, just be a little bit careful when using your abilities. Don't just walk in front of their faces and try to clear, because they will mess you up if they know what they're doing. Okay. That's her second ability. Her third ability is her jump. Her jump is like a little grab. Now this grab is very, very finicky. So when you grab, you just basically extend your whip forward. You do a little bit of an animation there, and then you do a flip at the end. And at the end of the flip, or for the next 4 seconds, you have a chance to you basic attack anyone, enemy or minion. You get enhanced basic. So you can see here I'm doing 117, and then I grab the ground, and then I do 152. This is worthless late game. That extra 30%, it's a 30% increase. It's nothing. The actual grab also does damage. It also is very worthless. It does literally no damage. It's also extremely hard to hit. So don't even count this as a damage ability. It is, but it's 40% scaling with 100 base, which is nothing at level 5, and it's gonna be your last ability upgraded anyways. But yeah, it's just not that good. Excuse me, sorry. Just don't do it. Yeah, so it's a good ability. Like I said, it goes pretty far. It's also directional. So if you grab and you don't move, you go forward. But if you grab and then go to the right, oh, oops, I did that too late. So if you grab and go to the right, you do a side flip. Same with the left, and then you can also go backwards. So if you want to like style on somebody, like you want to dodge something, then you want to back up, you can do that, which I love, by the way. That's so cool. That is so cool. I love this character's expression. It's just a mobility tool. Like, it's good. You can also go vertically up terrain, which is really nice. So if you want to go up somewhere, right? It's also really good for avoiding damage. If you get jumped on, you can just go up and you can just wait. You won't go that far when going up, so be careful. But you can also make the jumps in mid. You can also go up those those open areas without having to waste a blink, which is really, really useful when you're getting chased. But yeah. So really good ability. Another big thing about this ability, and probably the biggest thing to know, is that you actually jump and then throw it out. But the entire time when you're aiming, it'll go wherever it ends, just like your right click. It'll come out at the end instead of the beginning. So wherever you're casting it, if I decide to, let's say I'm aiming for this guy's head, and I press, left click. Also, keep it on normal casting, I recommend, just because it makes it easier. If it's on insta cast, it's really easy to whiff it when you're trying to do something, because you don't actually see where it's supposed to go, and it comes out at the end instead of the beginning, so it's not really where you're aiming. Anyways, so let's say I'm aiming at this guy's head, right? And I cast it. Well, it'll never ever hit because she jumps and then does it. She doesn't jump and readjust herself. She jumps and throws it out wherever you were aiming. So the only way to get on this guy's head would be to aim it as like his crotch, right? Right? So you have to aim pretty far down. So if you're aiming for something, I hope they change this, but if you're aiming for like a ledge and it's like the top of it, aim below it, because that's the only way you're going to get it. It is kind of finicky. You have to get used to it. Same when you like hit the ground. I like to jump and do this, but when you hit the ground, you got to be careful that you don't overshoot it, because it's easy to do that, right? You can see the edge when you have it on normal casting too. But it's really easy to whiff as you jump up in the air. So you want to make sure you're pretty low. Otherwise you're not going to get it. So that's another tip. Make sure wherever you're aiming, if you're aiming on the ground too, if you see the outline, just aim lower. You go pretty far still, so don't be afraid. Like I said, I like to jump forward, but do not aim at the edge of the line. Make sure to aim, right? Make sure to aim down. So like this is the edge. If you're aiming, aim down, because otherwise you're not going to get it. So that's a huge tip, by the way. It's going to save you a lot of pain. I didn't figure that out for a while. I was wondering why I was missing. That is why, because she jumps. Even if you jump, so you do a double jump, right? You'll still jump again. So even if you're in the air, so you jump a second time. So again, aim lower than where you actually want to go. And I also recommend don't put on an instacast because it makes it a little bit harder to aim. That's another tip. All right, that's 3 of her abilities. I think I went over everything involving those abilities. Again, none of these abilities really matter at the late part of the game, and you'll see when I get the max build. So the next one is going to be her ult. So her ult is a global ult, and I'm sure you guys have experienced this many times. Very OP ultimate. Probably needs a nerf. Damage is probably too high as well, in my opinion, but also just in general, the slow is the range of the slow. So basically, how this ult works: you throw it out, a giant Rasengan. Look at how cool this animation is. Rasengan, super cool, love it. So you throw it out and it's global. Let's see if I can hit that. Yeah, but I missed. Okay. Anyways, it's global. It goes through everything. You can throw it wherever. But yeah, it basically is just a knock up, and it does a decent amount of damage. Pretty wide. Pretty easy to miss. This target's pretty wide. Pretty easy to miss. I've whiffed this so many times. So you want to be as close as possible, but if you want to also combo with CC, there is no diminishing returns. So currently right now in the game, you can combo with CC. Hopefully they do add diminishing returns eventually. Diminishing returns means if you get CC'd once, the next CC is not going to be as heavy, and it's going to keep going down and down and down. But right now that's not in the game. So if a steal ults somebody and you decide to ult them as they land, they'll still get knocked up all the same, which is terrible. Needs to be changed. But like everything else in this game, it's really, really strong right now. So until they add diminishing returns, you just want to combo with your team. Makes her a really, really good ADC. And this is why I think she's borderline broken. If you consider every other ADC broken, that is the reason. It's because of her ultimate, not because of her whip or extension or whatever. It is literally her ult. So how do you use this ability? Well, like I said, if you're autoing somebody, just cast it. Put on instant casting. I just wanted to show you the cool animation. Put on instant casting. You auto, you ult, auto. It basically makes you win any 1v1. Try to get as close as possible just in case, just to make sure. Like when you're trying to bridge the gap, just get close and then just, press the auto button. And then they get a free knockup. The farther you are away, the better it is, but if you're already in auto range, you get the ult off, you basically get a guaranteed kill at the end of the game. You're not going to be alone at the end of the game, but if you do end up in a 1v1 or even, halfway through the game, that will just help you win the fight. So if you're losing or you even just in general, just press it just to guarantee the win. Yeah, that's it. Don't try to be like some max range god either. Only really max range it when your team's about to set up, you see a stun go off, or this stun is coming, or you're in comms, right? Because otherwise you're gonna whiff. So like I said, you can be anywhere on the map, so it doesn't matter how far you are. Literally, it'll always travel. It is fairly slow, but you'll still be able to get hit by it. I've been max ranging it a lot and getting lucky, but yeah, it's a really good ability. It's up to 4 seconds they're suspended, and honestly I feel like you can be like here and you get the 4 seconds. I definitely think the nerf should be you have to be like all the way back here, like I mean like at the wall, right? Even this is like 3 seconds, and then when you get all the way back here, maybe this is 4, because I feel like just that easy access to 4 seconds is insane. They definitely needs a distance nerf, or they just need to nerf the overall time you're in it. Like if I'm in auto range, it should be no longer than 1 second. That should be the cap. Maybe, I don't know, 25, 30 meters for the first one is 1 second, 45, 50 meters is 2 seconds, etc., right? The longer, it needs to be properly gauged, because right here, it feels like I'm getting 3 seconds for being right here, which is ridiculous, by the way. Even if it is luck, because it's really easy to dodge. Good counter tip is just sidestep Yin when you're fighting her, if you're Ranger, because it's actually, I've dodged it so many times, people could just be whiffing, but if they aim at you and you're moving sporadically, really easy to sidestep. So that's a really big tip. But yeah, that's her ult. So her ult, it does a decent amount of damage too. If you want to see a full magical build, I guess I could show you really quick, just so you guys get, how you feel out the build a little bit. Do not do this. It is not viable. Getting there, you do slap, you do one shot, but it's not worth it. It just isn't good. Do a full pen so we get the actual full value. Alright, what are we missing? Okay, so let's 29. 29. Okay, and then we got 3,343. So obviously that's massive. but that's not what you're going to do. It's just not worth it. So that's the build, or that's the basically her kit rundown. I hope I went over everything pretty in detail. Like I said, a lot of this stuff doesn't matter outside of her ults. Like, I've walked around not casting any of their abilities, just holding my ult and pressing the ult, and done really well. She has a lot of strengths, but a little more weakness than some other carries. Like, her laning phase is fairly weak, because she can't outrange like Sparrow, or she can't outtrade Rev, which are the biggest two threats that I have faced personally as Yin, because a good Sparrow just completely outranges me. She just pokes me out, and then a good Rev just fucks me. There's nothing I can do, so I have to rely on my support. So she's pretty weak unless they buff her right click to go further. There's really no reason to use it outside, except at the end of part of the game. But during the lane, it's really hard. Do use it basically until you get cap attack speed. Use your right click, right? Keep using right click until you get cap attack speed. Once you get cap attack speed, you probably shouldn't press the button. Outside of when a melee is running you down, just press the button, right? Just to slow them a little bit. But Spirit's Armor is going to help you a lot more. And we'll go over the build real quick here. So, like I said, I'm kind of transitioning from the build portion site thing. I'm just going to do it in game because it's just much easier. So, let's talk about her build. So, what do I like to build? Statistically, right? For a team, a lot of people have different ADC builds. I'm here to tell you, your ADC build really, as long as you get your crit online, does not matter. As long as you are building the crit that you're supposed to, the crit items you're supposed to, it doesn't matter. Your ADC build after 3 items is whatever you want. As long as you just keep building attack speed, of course, it doesn't matter. So what I would recommend in most casual games where your support is someone you don't know, or you don't know if they're a good support, or you want to make sure you're not going to have to worry about trading, I will always tell people to build crossbow. It is so OP against other ADCs, which is oftentimes what you'll be fighting in the first 15 minutes of the game. Generally, you'll be fighting 1v or 2v2s, and having this crossbow is amazing. Definitely recommend this. I know people have said build Jewelry Box or go straight into crit or Spirit's Armor. None of these items are as good as crossbow in the early part of the game when you actually think about when you're fighting. If you want to get the biggest lead, if you're not 5 stacked or 2 stacked or 3 stacked or whatever, crossbow is always going to be the option. This is also normal ADC advice for the build. It's like any other. If you're building an ADC and you're really good with one, all those builds outside of Rev can apply to Yin. They're all the same. There's no like hidden tech on Yin, like, oh, she cleaves so she lifesteals more. Yes, but lifesteal's already overtuned if you have it anyways. It really doesn't matter what you're building on any character that's an ADC, as long as, so if you're already good with an ADC, just use that build if you have a comfortable build. But I will give you the build that I like to use on ADCs, and I'll explain each item individually here. So crossbow, like I said, in normal matches, you're not getting like a god tier Muriel, like Pocket Muriel or Noobster or anything. You're not getting these god tier players that are going to be pocketing you. So you want to go crossbow just to make sure that you could dominate the dual lane. Otherwise, if you go Jewelry Box, I promise you, if they have crossbow, you will lose. Even if you're ahead, you will lose. You can go Jewelry Box if you want to. This item, I don't think is good on any other ADC but Sparrow. And I found this out recently, that Sparrow's ult will probably, I'm assuming it procs all this. This item is not as good as you think. 6% of 2,000 is like 115, which at max, 2,300 is 115-ish, which that's at max level. At level 18, that's when you're getting that extra 115 damage. When you're full build with all your crit is when you're getting that much damage on this item. And that's only on the first auto. So this, because it works on current health, not max health, which is a problem. They need to put a cap on it. Like it maxes out at like 3,000 extra HP, or at 3,000 HP, or 3,500 or whatever. And then basically they need to make it so it has a cap on it. Because right now, the way it works is current health is not good, because current health means you probably have a lot of HP. So it's decent against tanks, but instead of going Jewelry Box, you would go Chainsaw, right? Like, really no reason to get Jewelry Box over Chainsaw. It's just a better passive. But if you want Jewelry Box, it's fine. I don't really care. Again, your crit's going to be the deciding factor. But if you want to make sure you're dominating your lane with no room for error, just go crossbow. If you are dominating lane, though, instead of going Jewelry Box, I highly recommend just rushing your crit anyways, because you're dominating, so you might as well just rush the crit. That's what I did when I had a good support, and God, let me tell you how good it felt to just rush Vial. Always start with Vial, by the way. It should always be your first crit item outside of Electric Stone, if you're doing like your first item. So my build, what I like to do is I'll go to my ADC build here. It's crossbow into Electric Stone into Vial. That's only the 3 items, and you're online. This right here gives you a lot of attack speed, gives you the damage you need, especially with crossbow, gives you the attack speed you need, and it gives you the crit you need. And then you go into another crit item, but you want to, maybe if you don't go to another crit item, you go into at least a crit piece to get the 55%, but even at 40%, once you get your third item, dude, you are slapping. And this is the biggest problem. I know this is a yin guide, but this is one of the biggest problems currently right now at the time of the recording with yin or any ADC is that they get online after 3 items. This every time I hit my vial, it's game over. It's like, if I'm even on the same level, you just feel way too powerful. So I hope they reel in ADCs to make them feel less powerful after 3 items. Also just nerf the items in general, but it's just ridiculous. You cap attack speed, especially with yin, you already cap attack speed nearly, and you're just going crazy. So these are the first 3 items. Always start with these first 3 items if you want to dominate, or like I said, you can replace crossbow or jewelry box if you really want to. I don't recommend anything else outside of jewelry or crossbow, but even then, like I said, jewelry is not giving you that much damage early game. So yeah, crossbow, Electric Stone, vial. After this, like I said, your build literally does not matter. I like to usually go into my lifesteal immediately, Holy Relic, and then either I'll go sword right away if I have enough gold, or I'll just go Spirit's Armor, lifesteal, or shield, depends. A lot of times lately I've been having to build shield earlier, so I've been building shield, and then I'll just do lifesteal or sword, and then lifesteal, right? Just to get my attack speed up a little bit, make sure I'm capped. Then, when you're full build, you sell your Electric Stone, all right, and then you buy your emergency treatment, or your chainsaw, whatever you think you need. Chainsaw only if there's 2 tanks that are a massive issue, or you're just getting run down and then no one's helping you, just go chainsaw. You don't really need chainsaw outside of when you're getting focused heavily, because you should be DPSing so much that the chainsaw diff doesn't really matter. You already have 20% nullification, but if you really need chainsaw, if you really absolutely think you need it, you can lower your attack speed a little bit and just get chainsaw. Then you could sell this and you can go jewelry box. Now, if you want to keep crossbow for the attack speed, that's on you. Or if you want to do Marauder's Watch, I don't really care. But you will sell your crossbow late after you sell your Electric Stone. So sell this last, because crossbow later loses value because the attack speed by 30 reduces it by 24, isn't that valuable in the late part of the game. The power doesn't matter late because you already have so much power. So just get something else. Just get rid of your crossbow, unless you feel like there's like 3 ADCs. Get rid of it. Just get something else. Double lifesteal if you don't have it. Get Marauder's Watch. Hopefully this item, and we're going to talk about Spirit's Armor, but hopefully it's taken out by the time you guys see this video, which it probably won't be, but don't get an anti-heal, bad item. Pretty much any attack speed item, right? You need your attack speed, so get something with attack speed. So your really the options are Jewelry Box, Marauders, or Emergency, or Spirit's Armor at the moment, right? So this is kind of the build you're going to be looking at if you need the counter build, but if you don't need the counter build, you could just be like this, which I recommend, or you can get Marauders. Now, why am I not talking about Spirit's Armor? Spirit's Armor has been the sole reason as to, no pun intended, why I think Yin or any other carry is really overtuned right now. The amount of autos you get for having Spirit's Armor for free is insane. The amount of kiting I have done with this item is insane. I didn't know how good this item felt on an individual basis when you're solo queued. If you're solo queuing and you're not building Spirit's Armor, you're trolling. This item is insane. And if you don't know, you get a penalty for auto attacking by 25%. But if you hit, you lose that penalty. There is no backpedal penalty, and there is an auto attack, but if you hit, it goes away. So without a backpedal penalty and the auto attack penalty being removed, you move at light speeds at full force, no matter what way you're hitting, which helps you kite, which helps you move backwards. It has helped me immensely, especially in the jungle. In jungle, I build it first. I build Spirit's Armor first because it helps me catch people, but it will help you. So if you really right now want to abuse an item, build this 5th or 6th or whatever, and it will help you, right? This item is easily, in my opinion, the best ADC item to help you absolutely carry games. This has been disgustingly strong for me. It has helped me immensely. Definitely recommend, as long as they just keep it in the game. I hate recommending abuse. That's why I'm not putting it in the full build. Most likely you're gonna actually just build normally, or in a professional comp game you're just gonna build a lot of shred anyways. But like I said, you are not going to be using Spirit's Armor hopefully soon. Hopefully they get rid of it, but if you can use it now, I recommend you do, because it is way too strong. And I will say, this has been the sole reason as to why I've been dominant. You can look at my videos, you can see me kiting people constantly. It's ridiculous how insanely strong this item is for if you're mechanically, you know, sound. You can easily kite people, or like you get more autos. More autos just equals more damage no matter what your build is. So definitely build Spirit's Armor like 4th or 5th item, or first if you're in the jungle for some reason. Don't do that, by the way. Don't jungle with her. She's at ADC. I just do it because I troll, but I love her. So yeah, that's it. That's pretty much the build. My final recommendations for build: I like double lifesteal in like casual games. It really does help, and the shield also helps. And then Spirit's Armor at the moment. If you don't want Spirit's Armor, you can go crossbow, merchants, or marauders. Marauders isn't really that good on her because her stim, I'm already basically capped in attack speed. 2.5 is plenty. A lot of times I don't even cast it because it interrupts your auto for a sec, which worries me. You don't use your right click. Like, that's another example of that. Yeah, don't use your right click, even though it's a slow, because on, you know, most targets you don't really need that permanent slow. So 580 versus 824. Obviously you can tell which one's better. So yeah, don't use your right click. Only use your jump to get away from situations, and then ult when you need it, or when you're trying to chase a kill with your team. Don't just ult randomly. Just do it when you think you need it. I like to keep it for peel because it really helps when I'm fragging and then someone jumps on me and I just ult them and start blasting them too. So I like to keep the ult for peel, or if my team is good, I'll use it for setup. So you decide which one you want to use it for. I'd say keep it for peel. It's a really good self peel tool. It's only a 1-second knockup, but on a squishy or even a tank, it buys you so much time. So my final build recommendations, you can build whatever you want. Like I said, as long as you get your vial, your sword, and your holy relic, as well as whatever, you can build whatever else you want as long as it has attack speed. You get your chainsaw, you get whatever. But yeah, my final build recommendations, at least for a casual level, this is probably what it is. Once they remove Spirit's Armor, probably going to be Marauders or Jewelry for the late game. And then if you want to get rid of double lifesteal for a chainsaw, that's also viable as well. If you need it, that's up to you. So that's it. That's pretty much the build. That's the guide. I mean, like I said, this is more of a general ADC guide. There's not much of like yin outside of the few tips I told you about, like jumping and just not using her abilities late game. There really isn't much outside of like normal. Like, you're just an ADC, and it's sad that I'm saying that because like her identity, her kit's amazing, but you don't really use it, which is sad. It doesn't proc melee effects. There's nothing special. Like you're a crit god. Like, you know, like your right click doesn't crit. You know, like your E has a 30% bonus attack, but you don't use that offensively. You have to use it defensively. So it's like, it's just a nice little bonus, I guess. It's just, there's not, outside of her ult, you can literally walk around and do this the entire time, which I do often, and just dominate. Which says a lot about her kit, or ADCs in general, I think, personally. But yeah, I like her. I think she's a lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoyed the guide, though. I'm sorry, like I said, I'm a little sick, so I apologize if I was very, you know, out of it, but that's it. You know, ADC Yin. Like I said, you can play her in the jungle. I play her in the jungle. I don't recommend it. I think it's troll, but I've done it. Don't play her solo because you're a bastard. She's gonna get fucked by every other mage in the book, so don't do that either in mid. But if she's an ADC, all this information for building and stuff, and even just playing, also applies to other ADCs. It's not just Yin. So if you guys are looking for a guide for other ADCs, this is pretty much it. This is like the same thing. Like I said, late part of the game, all I'm doing is literally holding my ult and pressing this. I'm not even using my stim. Use your stim when you can, but yeah, it's just like, you don't really, like, you run out of the stim and you're down for 4 seconds, you just keep autoing, right? And again, the cap attack speed being from 2.5 to 2.7 isn't really, or 2.4 to 2.7 isn't really that big of a deal. I don't even feel the difference, honestly. So you can press it when you want, but it's really not that big of a deal. The cleave isn't really carrying you or anything either, but that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed. That's pretty much the guide. Like I said, that's Yin. I love her. I hope they rebalance her in the future and make her so she doesn't have range auto attacks when they add a back pedal penalty. Nerf ADCs. Stop letting me abuse these items. God forbid I start building Claw, Marauder's Claw, and fucking Spirit's Armor with Courage. I'd be a race car just like Sparrow. Not as fast, but almost. Yeah, but I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll be live at some point. Hopefully after this video goes live. Yeah, but that's her. That's Yin. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you. I'll see you guys later. Peace.